My name is Evan Desjardins, or Desjardins, or DiGiorno, depending on which part of the country you're from and if you can pronounce it. I started the company Roundtable Technology in 2010. I started it as a cloud services company called the IT Kings originally. I was the guy in the state of Maine selling cloud services and hosted desktops and hosted email. And everybody thought I was insane, and I probably was at that point in time. And then through a lot of interesting circumstances and connecting with some great people, we got more and more focused into the niche of providing IT services and high-level strategic consulting to nonprofits. And we expanded that from Maine to New York. And we have a great install base in New York City. And it is a very weird turn of events. I ended up moving to Dallas, Texas, and running my company from Frisco, North Dallas. And now we're expanding here. But really, our mission and vision is to be the premier IT services provider for nonprofits nationwide.
Perfect. Good. Thank you. So 2022 was a big year for you. You're Better Your Best semifinalist. It was crazy. And, prior to that, there was a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of ebbing and flowing, and, you were all over the place. Why 2022? Why did you focus in on, and we're obviously going somewhere with this, but what made you focus in? What was your motivation? What was the thing that was driving you?
Sure. So, the interesting thing about some of these calls and these presentations and things is that they all everybody likes to focus on all the things that went well. And I had a couple of things that went not so well. And it all kind of in 2020 things went well, went not so well for everybody, right? I mean, so we know. And then I heard someone say that during COVID we lost people. And it's not just that we lost necessarily people to death. We lost people to weird circumstances. And over the course of those years, I lost a couple people that were really close to me and close to me in my business. And they decided that they wanted to leave my company, which I understood, and steal a bunch of things from my company, which I did not understand. Mm-hmm. And so here's a piece of advice I'll give everybody right now. And that is, get a really good non-solicitation agreement. I personally don't believe in non-competes unless you sell something, but get a non-solicitation and confidentiality agreement and have everyone sign it in your company this week. If they refuse, if it's your best friend, if it's your mom, I don't care who it is, fire them today. And I'm not kidding. I mean, this is, if you get nothing else from this call, please internalize that, because it'll save you a lot of time, hassle, and money. But anyway, so that was a battle that I ended up having to fight. And as part of that battle, it really helped me kind of reimagine, again, the why of what I'm doing with my business, what I'm trying to accomplish, how we're marketing, how we're selling. One of the people that left was my top salesperson, and so now I'm having to reimagine a lot of these different things. And so it helped me to take a step back and evaluate inertia and drift. I have an acronym for drift called default results instead of focus tracking. And we had drifted a little bit, and I was tired of it. I had a lot of adversity to the point where I was kind of enraged about it, and it helped me to focus in a new way about how we do things, why we do things, look at things from a totally different perspective, get some outside voices on my leadership team. And so it really challenged a lot of things that I had taken for granted. And so that was definitely a big why for me throughout the past couple of years.
Yeah, sounds it. So, so again, I know how the story ends. so I can introduce things here and it'd be like, wow, you're looking into the future. No, we kind of talked about it. So that motivation to do what it was that you needed to do got you through some hard times at the beginning of this year. Do you mind just spending a minute on that? And then I want to go back to the marketing, the things that you did, and really focus in on those.
Yeah. So I will want to land on this at some point during our conversation, because I think there's a lot of reimagining of my business that happened as a result. But essentially, starting in about November of last year, my wife started having some real tough times with allergies, essentially bad allergies, and she was feeling fatigued a lot, and going to see an ENT and trying to get help with her breathing and things like that. And this kept getting kind of progressively worse. And we're trying to figure it out. And she's getting allergy testing and all this stuff. And then we did some travel at the beginning of the year. And then it started getting to the point where, like, we would be in a car ride and she would fall asleep. And not like long car rides, short car rides. And she would, like, my daughter was having a graduation, and my wife was ironing her gown and had to stop because she just couldn't have the energy to do it. And so this was like kind of like abnormal. We're like, man, her allergies are getting really bad, and then basically on April 4th, she stopped breathing. She essentially came into my bedroom while I was with my daughter. We were watching a movie, and she just like started banging on the wall because she couldn't breathe. And so that'll help you sort of reevaluate what's important in life quickly. This is my best friend, the person I've been married to for 24 years, and so we called 911. We got an ambulance out, and she essentially had a blockage in her airway. But we ended up finding out through the course of a month that she had a subglottic stenosis, which whatever the hell that is. But essentially what it means is her breathing tube essentially shrank to the size of a drinking straw. Now, you and I can take a deep breath and breathe because ours are much larger, and hers was not. So through who even knows what, how, why, when she would clear her throat, or, you just get a little mucus or whatever, that it just blocked her airway completely. And so we had 2 or 3 visits to the ER, midnight. I mean, it was probably the worst month of my entire life. And as a result of that, I did what I never thought I would ever do or have to do. And that was call my leadership team and say, I'm out. I basically just completely walked away from my company for a month, completely. And that's part of what later on I'd like to spend more time talking about, is how can we actually think about an exit from our business, not just getting a big check, because that's what I think a lot of business owners aspire to. Like, I want to get a check, I want to cash out. How do I? And Peter, I know this is some experience that you've recently been blessed to have, and that's awesome. But I think it seems very far away and big for a lot of us, and a lot of people maybe on this call. And I think a better question to ask is, how can I exit for a month today if I need to? And I needed to. And right. And so this is where, I look back at some of the decisions that I made and the things that lead great people I put in place that allowed me to do that. And I mean, they really probably saved Crystal's life by allowing me to step away. I mean, I didn't leave her alone for more than 5 minutes, 24 hours a day, 360, every single day for that entire month, because I was afraid she would stop breathing. Yeah. But they probably saved my life too, because I honestly don't know what I would have done if I lost her.
Yeah. Yeah. And this, again, those are the two ends of the spectrum. Why you did what you did, and now we can talk about some of the hows. Why you did what you did gave you the opportunity to do what you needed to do at a time. Right. And P.S., it was all out of your control.
Yeah, it was not my choice.
That's exactly right. But you had a choice, and you were able to do something to benefit everyone. You, your wife, your company, the leadership team, everyone. And that's good stuff. I love the story. Because we never know. Yeah. We don't know what we're going to get handed.
Well, I'm happy with the story now, because we actually figured out what was wrong. They went in, they dilated. It was a balloon of all things, right? Gotta love technology. I mean, they went in with a balloon and dilated. Now she's better than ever. Honestly, better than she's been in years. So thankfully the story had a happier to this point ending, but yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable at the time. I mean, I just
Yeah,
can't even believe that it happened, to be honest with you. It was
crazy. And here we are. Good. So let's talk about your on again, off again marketing and your well
sure.
oiled machine. What were some of the first things that you did after you had this exodus of value trusted people who,
Yeah.
by the way, I totally agree with you on the non-solicitation.
Yeah.
Now is when you do it. It's the best time to get an agreement in place, not when you need it.
Yeah. And I will say again, even if it's your best friend of 20 years that's been working with you at your company for 20 years, if they won't sign it, fire them today.
Right.
Because that's who did it to me. So I'm just saying, you know,
that
it's
was
just,
that was a laugh from the Joker right there.
yeah. It is so, yeah. If you get nothing else from this call, forget about it. Do that. But anyway, well, the first thing I did is I actually, say you go to all these meetings, right? You go to Producers Club, you go to Roadshow. I mean, I had the distinct honor and privilege of traveling to an enormous amount of roadshows in 2020 when no one was going anywhere. So it was awesome. I had a whole freaking Southwest plane to myself. It's like me and Brandis on a plane, it's like
Beautiful.
crazy. So like Robin was the only person hosting events, and they asked if I would be on a panel and do some intros, and I'm like, sure.
Yeah,
So
why not?
here we are, just traveling everywhere during 2020. But so I'm sitting through all these things, and I'm hearing Robin talking a lot, and she's saying a lot of the same stuff. Like, you got to hire a marketing manager. You got to do so. Finally, at some point, I'm like, maybe I should hire a marketing manager. So it is funny. I was just talking to him right before this call, and because now we're kind of looking towards the next phase of our marketing and growth and our messaging and where we're at. And the way I describe it is when we brought Justin on board, it was like a Dave Ramsey program, right? It was like, we're gonna get out of debt, and that's what because we had so much marketing and sales debt, and it not financial debt, but like maturity debt in that aspect of our business, where it was just a hack job, and everybody was winging it, Wild West. So we were trying to. So this is what we've been doing for the past two-ish years, is we've been getting out of debt in terms of marketing, in terms of sales. And it's kind of funny because in a lot of ways we've kind of paid off the debt now. Now we're sitting there looking at each other going, oh, now what? Now what do we do now?
Exactly.
It's like that was like you paid off like because you're so focused on it. But that's the fun of business, is that it goes through phases. It's never static. And so now we're about to go into a new phase, which I'm thrilled about. But that was really the big thing. We had an audience that we had curated to over the years with a lot of great educational content, and Roundtable's sort of brand is engaging, educational, and entertaining, because we do a lot of work with nonprofits primarily. I say our business portfolio is 85 to 90% nonprofits.
Okay, that's the target market right there.
Yeah. And so, but it allows us it's really helped us to develop our own voice. And I've got somewhat of a motley crew on the good ship roundtable. I've got some people that have a good sense of humor and that are not afraid to put themselves out there and do webinars, or put on a Zoom filter as a potato and do a whole cybersecurity video as a potato and send it out to all of our clients. And we're the company that says, yeah, let's do that. And people they like it. And so so we have a lot of fun, but what we have not so much done a great job of, again, going back to that debt, is really kind of capturing it into real systems, into real processes, into real campaigns. And so, when we did our 7th annual best ever free cybersecurity webinar, one of the things we were really promoting is have your whole staff watch it. Like, get a conference room and bring your whole staff in and just have this live webinar, engage. So, and working with, joint venture partners, send it out to, hey, this will meet your New York Shield Act requirements of cybersecurity training. So we ended up having over 1,000 people registered. We had, over 500 people attending live, and then of course then it becomes evergreen throughout the year because we can just kind of register and let people watch it offline. And so, that turns into a great conversation starter and door opener, getting appointments, getting follow-ups. We're having our dialer. We got a great dialer. If you registered, you're getting a call and you're going to say whether you attended or not, hey, is there anything we can do? Do you want to book an appointment? So we're just doing a lot of the fundamentals, but we're doing them at a bigger scale and more consistently than we ever have. When we first started, with the toolkit and with all these things, a lot of what we did is we'd send 25 or send 50, or we call 20, and yeah, you're gonna get some, but it's not. I started really pushing back hard on my team and say, listen, if we've made 20 calls this week, we made no calls. You can't tell me that we've tested this if we've made 20. It's
Right.
you might as well say zero. And so now we're in more like the 500 and growing range, and it's made a big difference. I mean, it's
Huge
it's
difference.
just, yeah.
It is a numbers game. There's no, I say to people all the time, and they've said it to me too. There is no art or magic to what it is that we do.
Yeah, it's the
It's a
law of
science.
averages.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Talking about numbers.
Mhm.
Just to go off on a tangent, because you mentioned, and it's not a tangent, but back to what you said about uh, engaging with JV partners. What kind of JV partners, or
Mhm.
who was it that you were actively pursuing to invite their teams to your event?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have some regional partners. So in different states, we're in Maine, we're in New York, we're Connecticut, we're in Texas, we're in we got some in California. Uh, but primarily kind of that East Coast corridor for the most
Yep.
part. But a lot of cities and states have pretty well defined nonprofit organizations. And some of them are local co-ops, some of them are state associations like the Maine Association of Nonprofits. They're exactly what they sound like and what you think they
Right.
are. And so we just try to provide a lot of value to these organizations. We'll go to them and say, hey, how would you like to engage, entertain, and educate your uh, audience? How can we help you drive more membership? How can we provide value to the people that you serve? So if you're looking for, they have portals of partner portals where, we do sponsorship and things like that, but also
Mhm.
we can provide discounts to their membership. So that way, when what we try to do is have it be so that an organization like the Maine Association of Nonprofits can say, we can add value to the nonprofits that are members of MAMP by having Roundtable be a part of it. So if you're a member of MAMP, then one of the things you can get is like a free cybersecurity training webinar that can help you meet your requirements, or
Mhm.
get a discount on an assessment or an onboarding or things like that. So that way the value of being a member of MAMP is enhanced by having Roundtable participate. And that's something that we feel very strongly about. And the more value you can provide to your partners, and the more information or entertainment or engagement you can help them achieve, then the more things that will come your way. I mean, Zig Ziglar said it best, where you can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. And it's sounds cliche and whatever, but it's true. I mean, it is, if you help your partners grow and succeed, and you say, you can provide your membership more value by having us be around, then they'll throw more stuff your way. And so
Yeah.
Maine, New York, regionally, even in New York, Long Island, Texas, we're working with TechSoup. We're helping sponsor events with TechSoup. There's pretty much in every niche, there's a group of where all of the nerds in that niche hang out,
Yes.
and put
Thank you.
yourself there.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. There is every vertical has their
Yeah.
associations, their organizations, that those nerds or those people who meet that participate with.
Mhm.
All of them.
But
All right.
it's
Brilliant.
funny because I used to hear like the word tribe and community and some of those things for like so ugh, I don't know, they just didn't resonate with me. But I'm like, you just got to find your nerds wherever they are. Just embrace it. Go find them. Put yourself there, and things will happen. So
Totally. Totally agree. All right. So that's one. That's a biggie, by the way. And again, you use the phrase evergreen. You could use that forever,
mhm.
right?
Well,
Just
don't worry. But next year there'll be the 8th annual. So that we every year we're trying to juice those numbers. I mean, Justin, I don't know what his he's trying to achieve this year, but in the thousands, I'm sure.
he's going for it, right?
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about your Google Ads campaign. So again, there's a secret here that I don't know.
Well, I'm
And
not sure that I know it, but let's
all
see.
right, let's see
Ask
for
me some questions.
Google Ads that resulted in 8 leads and $10,000 in recurring revenue. Was there something special, unique, different that you did?
Um, I this is kind of going to sound absurd, but I don't know.
Okay, that's fair.
I mean, I honestly, I'd have to ask Justin specifically. I mean, I think the biggest thing is, so I've got some notes here actually. So I'm going to have to. So we use a strategy called the single keyword ad group method, which allows you to ultra focus targeting and ad copy for the keywords that you are buying. And a lot of this is coming from remarketing, so finding our site organically and then targeting it, retargeting. I know Mike's talked a lot about that, and really just doing a lot of testing. I mean, I think at the end of the the biggest thing to this kind of stuff is to have someone like Justin that's in it every day, that's testing the crap out of it,
Yeah.
and not to just set it and forget it and say, I mean, there's some stuff you could do like, oh, New York based IT services or Maine based IT services. That's fine. But what we want is we want to get super specific to like an executive director of a nonprofit or an operations manager of a nonprofit that's kind of looking but sort of being a little shy about it because they don't want their existing MSP to know that they're shopping around. Or I mean, this is the hard part for us, for all of us that I'm talking to right now, is that we're kind of all sort of trying to take each other's customers. I mean, no hard feelings, but
Right, exactly.
the people that you're working with or trying to sell to already have an MSP or an in-house person that's either the friends and family plan or a hired IT person. And you have to shake the box enough, or identify enough pain that they're suffering that you can solve uniquely to get them to talk to you. And so that's where we're getting like really granular with our ads. And the great thing about the Google ads, I will say though, is and I'm hearing from my salespeople, is that when they come in through the Google ads, they're almost pre-qualified. Like the conversations are they're much further along in the buy process than like some of the phone outreach that we're doing or whatever, because they're already actively looking. They're looking, which is really kind of like the key differentiator with the Google or the search engine ads, is that they're already sort of shopping and it.
Yeah. When did you focus in on that target market that you described, these nonprofits? When did that become the thing that you were going to focus on?
So it's interesting because we have we've worked with nonprofits for a long time, and that started kind of in 2013 when I kind of expanded the business through some bringing some great people, some just absolutely tremendous people into the organization in New York. And with them, a lot of clients and things that had like a book of business we had been serving. It's kind of I won't bore you with the story, but in any case, so that was when. But we always kind of wanted to have our cake and eat it too. I mean, candidly, we wanted to serve nonprofits, and we wanted to serve for-profits, and we wanted to serve, but really, I'd say about honestly, right, a lot of things happened all at once. And so I will say this, just as a very quick aside to the how, or the why or whatever. I'm confusing myself now, but
One of them.
when we started getting really serious about when I started getting really serious about how the management of my company was going to be. And by that, I mean, not just great doers that are good with people and getting things done, which is historically how I kind of thought of management. But I mean people that are willing to hold themselves and other people that report to them accountable to key results. And that was it sounds like a minor thing, but it was huge. It was a huge shift. When you start like really implementing like EOS as an example, and you start getting real scorecards and real management, real accountability, this is when I started to lose a couple people. Because they didn't want to be accountable to anything.
Right.
They wanted to do their own thing, and their own thing was not what my company needed. So my company has grown to the point where it's not my company. It's not an extension of Evan Desjardins where it used to be. Now it's its own living entity that it's like a dog or a cat or a pet or a toddler. I mean, it's got its own ideas. It's got its own appetites. It's got its own likes and dislikes. It's taken on like a whole other thing. And I had to really take a step back and say, well, what does this thing need? Well, what this thing needs is it needs a different level of mature care and nurturing. And that meant real accountability. I mean, God bless my kids. I mean, they're awesome and I love them to death. But, there's certain things where it's like, yeah, but you got to prove that you did it if you want the reward. You can't just tell me, you have to prove it. And so what I found is that a lot of people that are the wrong fit for your company don't want to prove it. The right people do, because they want to show off. An A player wants a freaking wall of trophies. They're delighted to show you. The B players, the C players, they're not interested. Suddenly it's all smoke and mirrors. And when you start taking away the smoke, you're taking away the mirrors, the only thing that's left when ambiguity is gone is raw performance. And people got scared and they left. And it was the best friggin' thing that happened to my business, because it was like the sun came out and I didn't even know it was cloudy. So we started getting real accountability, real management, and that's when we started seeing like some really different results.
Systems, processes in place.
Yeah.
You were managing those, which was driving the business.
Yeah, and that's how I was able to step away too.
Right.
But I don't remember the question you asked me because it's just going on our
tangent.
Okay.
I don't even remember your name now.
It's fine. It's not delivery. It's Desjardins.
Exactly. It's not DiGiorno.
Yeah, no, not that either.
No, it's not that. What other kinds of things did or have you done? Again, and we're talking about that period of 2022 and moving over to 23. Sure. Anything that was outside of your ordinary that just kind of got you moving?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I'm so blessed to have a group. One thing that I did that I think is a little different over the years, because we work with so many nonprofits, because the business is kind of, they have unique needs. I don't want to just say that I'm a special snowflake because of but there are differences to for-profit. Now, I mean, it's tough because, like, I mean, I love Robin's, like, just copy the stuff that I do. So I came back from a producers club meeting when I'm just yelling at everybody. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, one of Robin's people got on the stage and they said, oh, I've got 14 slots for this. It's a beta test. It's $12.99 a month. And by the time she walked to the back of the stage, they were all sold. I'm like, what the hell? We got all these people. Like, just lighting everybody up. And finally, one of my guys, he's like, hey, that's awesome. And I love that. Right. So you know where we're going with this.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That's,
big old butt coming.
But a lot of our organizations that we work with need like a board's approval to spend more than $10,000 a year.
Yeah.
And
Like,
here I am. I'm like, okay, we've been in this like that was the question you asked me. We've been in this nonprofit space since 2013. It's like the friggin' first time I'm hearing somebody say this to me. And I'm like, either I couldn't be bothered to ask or didn't
right,
listen. They told me before, but
right.
so anyway, so with all that accountability, with all that focus that I was kind of rambling on about earlier, came a decision. We made two major decisions. One in 2020, right at the end of 2019, 2020. And that was, we're not selling billable hours, period. You cannot buy a billable hour from Roundtable Technology.
Mhm.
And that was like almost a decade long pursuit of mine, because that was why I started my company, to be a cloud services reseller to begin with. And this is going to offend some people on this call, but my belief is that no one wants to buy a friggin' billable hour from you. They don't. I don't.
I agree with
Nobody
you.
does. My
Yeah.
lawyer charges me billable hours, and I hate it.
And a lot of times we hate them as
And I hate him too.
directly
I
for.
tell you what, over the past year, I'm like, I don't even want to talk to my own lawyer anymore. I'm so sick of like everybody and everything. So, I mean, but it's like nobody wants us. So we said, you know what? We're not going to sell billable hours. We're done. And everybody shit a collective brick, like inside my company, outside my company. But we ended up adding almost $40,000 in booked contract MRR right before the pandemic hit, right before. And so that was the story I was telling at Roadshow. Was like, this is like, I was standing here and I stepped to the side and a freaking piano fell right where I was standing. It was like a cartoon. It was so, the timing was so unbelievable. And then we basically said, look, we're trying to be all things to all people. Let's just focus on the nonprofits. We're good at it. We love it. We speak their language. It's obviously working. Organically, we keep growing with them. So what the way we coach it is, we have some for-profit clients and we love them. And it's not that we won't serve them. If you're a for-profit client and you want to work with us, that's great. Just know that a lot of our marketing and messaging is going to be around nonprofits, but we'll still serve you and do a great job. But really, we focus on nonprofits and mission-driven for-profits, and I think that's really kind of the big thing. Is it's not so much whether someone's a nonprofit or not, because we have some nonprofit clients that we fired because they're terrible. They're terrible to work with. So just because they're a nonprofit doesn't mean they're great or that we love working with them. They have to be really mission focused and really internalize the fact that we're their partner. We're not just a vendor to beat up. And if you treat us as a vendor to beat up, we will encourage you to find a different one. I've got some competitors I'd love for you to talk to.
Exactly. So that, I have to assume, has made your messaging very clear.
Yeah, it's really
Your
tightened up.
ability to find your people, not simple, certainly easier. You know who your audience is. You're not going to a BNI meeting and saying, when they say, what are you looking for this week? I'm looking for somebody that can fog a mirror and has a pulse.
A pulse and a credit card, right?
Yeah, right. Pulse and a credit card. I couldn't think of the other thing they say. No, you have a really quantified target vertical market that you are pursuing.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's exactly right. And it's made a big difference in terms of the kinds of conversations that we have. Again, we even started we even started to change the language that we use in terms of how we refer to our customers. We don't call them customers. We don't call them clients. We call them members. They're members of Roundtable, because that's the language that they understand and speak. So we're really trying to meet them and continue to challenge ourselves. Like I'm like that guy that's super obnoxious in a management meeting or in any meeting, as you can tell, right? Because I'm like, what do we mean by account manager? Talk to me about what account manager means. Are we managing their account? What does that even mean? I'm like, that's pointless and stupid to me. We're not managing their account. We're managing their experience. They're a person. They're not an account. They're a member. So anyway, I mean, I'm that guy.
Right. But you're drilled down. And P.S., you're preaching to the choir here. I do these vertical market, target market presentations and conversations all the time. It is, there's riches and niches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Focus. And PS, you don't necessarily only have to have or be all things to one market, but you do have to know that different markets have different needs. It
Yeah.
feeds into your what makes you unique. It gives you the ability to identify your avatar. It is clearly quantified messaging that gets people's attention.
Yeah. And we're trying to keep getting better at it. I think that's the other thing too, is I think sometimes it's easy to sort of believe your own headlines, and like we just had a random opportunity to get some training, because Robin will probably slap me for when she hears this, but like how to sell better from the front of the room. She's like, haven't you been watching me for the past however long? Well, yes, we have. We have,
Yeah.
and we still suck at it. So but it's not just that we suck at it, because again, we're not just talking to business owners that can just whip out their credit card on a whim at a producers club meeting and say, yes, I'll do that and whatever. So we have to sell a little different from the front. It's still the same principles, but we just have to figure out, like, what are the follow-up steps that we have to do? What's more sort of just what's the more granularity that we can do, because our testing cycle is longer. I would say that if there's anything, we have more checks that we have to get through to get to a buy, because we have to go through boards, we have to go through RFPs or approvals, or the fact that whenever someone wants to switch or spend more than $10,000 a year, they have to send it out to 3 bidders, or things like that. There's things like that in our space that we have to contend with. Sometimes they go our way and sometimes they don't. And but it just means a little more time and a little more granularity. But anyway, so we had this wonderful lady coaching our team and stuff. And by the end of the day, I'm sitting here, and again, this is a niche we've been in for years, and I'm sitting there listening to some of the feedback. I'm like, that was humbling, because she showed a level of expertise in the space that made us look like amateurs.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I loved it. Honestly, I loved it. I said, that's probably the best $3,000 we've spent maybe in years, because it challenged us from an outsider's perspective to say, you really think that you're the ones, right? So, well, here's a totally different perspective.
Pony
and,
up, right?
and also I think hiring people outside of the industry has helped a lot. I've had a couple of hires that have been not from the MSP space that really kind of fried my brain, because they were looking at, they're like, yeah, I had an MSP that I worked with as a customer, and here's all the things you guys do that sucks. And I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, that's so painful.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that one. So what does this year look like for you? What's on your horizon? What's on the plan?
Well, this year now, so this is again, there's a lot of ways to eat humble pie, and it's just, we've all been there. I personally had one of the weirdest years professionally of my life. I probably spent less time working this year and even being involved in my business than I ever have in the entire time I've run it. And we're having the best year we've ever had.
Okay. Interesting.
So I just kind of like,
something's working here.
Okay, so I got great people, but I'm like, but I have to keep wondering, in what ways am I holding them back? And I think it's a good sort of challenge. I mean, the month sort of sabbatical was a stress test for the business, and it passed with flying colors. And there's other things. I mean, that we're working on. But one of the things that we're doing, so we're doing a lot of educational things with partners around AI. A lot of the nonprofits are really interested to know what the impact of AI is going to have, or is having, or how they can leverage it, or things like that. Or should I be worried? Should I not be worried? So there's a lot of uncertainty, and I've got some people that are really on the cutting edge of thinking with, experimenting with, researching, doing AI in our space for those particular clients. So we're doing a lot of that. We're doing a lot of data projects. We're doing a lot of you know, fractional CIO work. I don't
Okay.
like I don't like the term virtual CIO because
Yeah.
it's sort of meaningless to me. And frankly, what a lot of people call VCIO is just glorified account management.
Yeah.
So we're doing a lot of executive level fractional CIO work, really setting experts with executive teams on an in-depth basis to plan, to budget, to strategize.
Okay.
And we're also, I really believe, over the past year, we're getting more into compliance, and we're not just getting into compliance. We actually went through the process ourselves of focusing on compliance to the point that we ourselves became SOC 2 certified, and
Oh, okay.
which was a huge thing. I heard I was talking to Bruce McCulley, who obviously is very well versed in this space, and he said, of the MSPs in the world right now, I've got like 5% are really kind of focusing on compliance, and of that percentage, the people that are SOC 2 certified is probably like me. So,
Right, one person.
and if other people are out there have done that, I'd love to hear, because it
Yeah,
was quite a process. I mean, it was
totally.
not an inexpensive process. I should say it was a heavy duty thing. And but what we're trying to do is, I want to have so much integrity that when we're talking to people, we can say, look, this isn't just something that we say is important. This is something that through our actions we're proving is important because we did it. And I feel like when you can come alongside someone and walk the journey with them, you have a lot better experience for you and for them. And so we're focusing a lot on compliance and trying to crack that nut. And I know a lot of people, I saw someone comment about in the chat about Shanna. She's phenomenal. She joined our team earlier this year. And so we're trying to crack the nut of compliance
Okay.
and I hope to have more to share for the community, because it's a very complicated thing. And there's a lot of people talking about it. But my hope is to help everybody figure out how to make money from it.
Right. Right. Exactly. All right. Good. So we've got a few minutes left. Before we do questions, there was a place that you wanted to land at the end of this.
Yeah, I think ultimately the biggest thing that so I was at one of the Producers Club meetings. Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful was up there, and again, I touched on it briefly earlier, but thinking about like the exit from the business, what does the grand exit look like? And I think that sometimes that's sort of a distraction from the fact that how do we get to that point? Like, how do we get like it, I don't want it, like, I don't want it to be a path that's so foggy that you can't even see the end of it. You've
Right.
got to be able to sort of have like a stepping stone. And the concern I have, I was talking to Justin about our list and some of these things is I don't want to make it sound like we've grown too big to be unrelatable to that stuff. Because I mean, if you know me and my journey, that's kind of crazy. But Kevin O'Leary, I'm sitting there and I'm watching him on stage, Jim Robbins talking to him. One of the things he was saying is that he's got like a list of 50 companies he's invested in, right?
Right.
And he's just got like key metrics for each one. He said because I'm an investor in these companies. And I wrote that down, and I got on a plane and I went home and I thought about it. And I'm like, oh yeah, good for him. It must be nice, right? But then I stopped and really thought about it. And I said, well, wait a minute. What if I take a step back and say to myself, I'm an investor. I'm the investor in Round 2. What does that look like? What does my job look like? What does my life look like? What am I holding on to so tightly that like my knuckles are turning white? How can I be more open-handed with my people, with my company, with my work, with my staff? Because it's better for everybody to, one is the most dangerous number in business. And if I'm the one, I can't step away. And I think in a lot of cases, us as the owner really psych ourselves into believing falsely, frankly, that we're the only one that can do something. And the sooner you can start getting comfortable with firing yourself from jobs in your company, the more it will grow and the more success you'll have and the greater your quality of life will be.
Yeah.
So where I want to land on it is, how can you think of yourself in your business as an investor? And how can you think and plan for the month exit today? And if you can work towards that and build your business to the point where you can drop everything right now because life comes at you fast and you have to, not because you just want to, but because suddenly you have to, you don't have a choice. If you can withstand that and build something that can withstand that, the rest is going to take care of itself. It all becomes style points after that, like, and that's where you really let your team have fun. But that's where I wanted to land.
That's a great message. That is a great message. And I think very important. You need options. You need options. Thank you.